of the theory of learning, of teaching, until I've totally undermined the whole system. Because that's what we have to do, just like the Bauhaus did. They said we have to start again and read. So I'm not going to get into the part with the Impressionists now, but you can see what was going on during the time of the Impressionists. When all of this work was being shown in the Salon in Paris, the Impressionists were not accepted. They were thrown out, ridiculed, laughed at, and there were virtually maybe of the thousands of professional critics, maybe 3 or 4, were able to appreciate the freedom and the beauty of the Impressionism. This work is masterful. It's brilliant. There's one here that reminds me of a World War II photograph, this one, and it's so much better than the photograph. This one of when there was, I forget which European country it was, there was a woman who was compliant with the Germans, and she was exposed afterwards, and she's walking down the street, and everyone's ridiculing her. That's exactly this picture. It's the same thing. But these were all taken from historical things and all different motifs. We'll talk about this next week and what the Impressionists were up against. They were up against this brilliant, beautiful, composed, classic art, and nobody was listening.
Manist.
Just like David and Goliath.
I just will say that I've read where they say Impressionism was born because of photography. That art became fearful of the accuracy of photography, and that Impressionists sort of, the motivation for Impressionism.
There is some truth to that, but in the studying that I had of Impressionism, that wasn't at all their concern. They were in fact friends with photographers, like the first giant exhibit that the Impressionists had was in the studio of Nadar, who was this wonderful photographer, portraitist, and they were all, they were all talking to each other. But the assignment that you're going to have, and you're going to see, first of all, is that what happened to me is that as soon as I realized that I didn't know, and that there was so much out there that I was going to yet learn to see, it freed me. It freed me from the idea of failing, because if you realize that you don't know, how can you fail? You basically are going out there to learn, and you go out with an open hand. You're not this great, wise person that's just going to tell you and teach you and show you and do all the things. When an instructor tells a student in a critique, I'll show you what you can do, they're doing something very destructive. They might improve the work, but they've pigeonholed it and pointed it into a direction that's not necessarily true. It's just the only direction the instructor knows. When somebody does something absolutely different and wonderful, you need a brilliant instructor to say, hey, I never thought of that before. I remember a child's drawings that were wonderful. They were just so, so much energy. The child didn't know how to draw, but he just loved to draw. And an artist came over to visit and saw this child's work and said, my God, this is beautiful. Can I help? Would you be willing to partner? I didn't tell him 3-year-old, would you be willing to partner? And that boy got so excited, he took the pictures and just basically took this page, all that wonderful text, and said, here. And I stopped Ruth at that point. I tried to stop and tell her at that point I stopped and say, and Ruth said, no, it's wonderful what he's doing. It's really terrific. It's really special. I remember that clearly. That was a wonderful lesson. What I want you to do is to make yourself like this. It's off center. It's got a little lower. It's better to be black because that way it blocks out everything. And randomly put it up against something like this, and then turn and say, oh my God, what did I just do? That's not a picture. Picture. What is a picture? The word picture is basically referred to as something that is beautiful. You want to put it up on the wall inside your name on it. It's an object of beauty. But that's not necessarily what we're looking for. When Evelyn Glennis talks about it, she says, sound. She says, learn to listen. It doesn't matter if it's a picture or not a picture. That might be a picture if you give it the credit, but you can't use the word picture. Let's change the word to visual experience instead of picture or image. An image means nothing, it's just something there, but it's neutral. Picture is loaded with meanings and with expectations. Get them out of our vocabulary. This is a visual experience. And it's probably something that I've never looked at before because it's not worthy of being a picture. But then again, if we're not interested in pictures, it might be something worthy of a very exciting visual experience. And that exciting visual experience is what we're looking for. We're not necessarily looking for the label or the accreditation of calling it a picture. Because a picture refers to many limitations. So what's wonderful about a window, don't go out with that. Not even your cell phone, which is the greatest camera. Don't go out. Just take this and just look at things. Say, oh no, look what I just did. Well, in fact, this is very exciting because I've got that wonderful black line and the white line of the entrance. I'm sorry, Neil, all I've got is your hands there, but they're good too. They're perfect. No, put it down, it's perfect the way it is. I love this line. And the line, and the black, and the white, and I'm saying, hey, that's a very interesting visual experience. Let's look at it. Now we start to look at it. That's stage one in Evelyn Glennie's cookbook. When you notice something, where you see, here are the notes of music or sound. These are the notes. What are you going to do with them? How are you going to, I'm not talking about changing it. I'm saying I pretty well limit. I don't mind a little bit of a change because as soon as I start realizing there's that black line that's sticking in the wall, hey, that's interesting. I might zoom in a little bit or zoom out, but you ruined it as a rule. I mean, the excitement is in the discovery. As soon as I start adding and changing, I'm converting it into something that I know. I want what I don't know. And that's where it becomes exciting. So, when we start looking like this, and you just stop and say, I didn't give it time. We're going to slow down. We can't learn and appreciate something that's new and different, whether it's a sound or something that we see, until we give it that credit that everything can be an exciting visual experience. And then, when we look at it and take random things and we, that was good. And we go to places that we have never really thought of, or places that we've thought of too much. And we go around seeing it in a new way, and that's our goal, to learn to see. Because we learned to see as a function of crossing the street. If you don't know how to get all those things together, you're going to get killed crossing the street. You won't make it. A cat sleeps with its eyes half open, because like that, you have to be able to respond, because of danger. But art, that's not what we're talking about. When we talk about excitement of a visual experience, we're not talking about content, about something that you can explain something intuitive. Like they've all said, intuition, that gut feeling of your senses, that there's something exciting here. Then we study. Then you basically say, I need time. I don't care if you sit down or if you just hold it there and you look and you look and you say, until you say, wow, that was great. And you go on to the next one and the next one. That's what we're going to photograph in the next couple of weeks. Part of the understanding and the rule, basically, in this class is we don't photograph anything here. We're going to continue with the theory behind that as to why it's so important. But the idea of knowing is something that if I know, I shouldn't do it again. If I've said it, why keep repeating it? And there are a lot of wonderful photographers who are absolutely stuck in that thing, that idea of repeating themselves over and over because they've learned how to see in a new and exciting way. Stephen Shore is one. And he talked to us, he was called one of the greatest American photographers. And he is a great American photographer. But when he was talking to us at Zalo, he says, you see this picture? He says, I can do that to anything. He says, I've been doing it for years, maybe 40 years. And you learn how to figure it out, and you learn something unique and different and wonderful. And it becomes this work. He says, I'm tired of it. I'm bored. Art is wonderful. He says, yes, but for myself, that's not why I'm doing imaging. You know, when I want something new and different, he says, and I don't know where to go. And that's where the problem is.